Human bones have been discovered in Antarctica and they're over 200 years old. A discovery that should actually be impossible, since at that time, no human had officially even set foot in Antarctica yet.
Who was this woman? How did she get there? And could it be that people were already in Antarctica long before modern historians think it's possible? We're going to take a very close look at this. It's going to be super exciting, so let's get started right away.
So, what do you think? Do we already know everything about the history of Antarctica? Or is there perhaps something in the icy continent's past that was completely different from what we think? Feel free to share your best theories in the comments. I'm really curious. And if Antarctica fascinates you as much as it does me, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. It's free, and you'll always get a notification when something exciting happens.
And if you've already subscribed, you'll help the video a lot with a thumbs up. 5,000 likes should be enough to appease the YouTube algorithm. And now grab yourselves a thick jacket because we're heading to the coldest and most inhospitable landmass on our planet.
Antarctica is the only continent that, as far as we know, has never been permanently settled by any people on Earth. Minus 60 degrees Celsius inland, months of darkness, storms powerful enough to blow an adult right over. Only a few researchers can endure it here for a couple of months before fleeing back to warmer climes. And yet, it wasn't always like that. During the age of the dinosaurs, Antarctica was green and humid, with fern forests and rivers inhabited by early amphibians and distant relatives of today's prey animals.
It was only when the continent finally retreated into its frozen isolation millions of years later that it became what we know today. The last truly untouched wilderness on the planet, the largest cold desert on Earth.
For centuries, sailors passed down legends of a vast southern continent that was said to exist as a counterweight to the land masses of the northern hemisphere. Some even believed that the Polynesian navigator Huitarangora reached the vicinity of Antarctica in his canoe as early as the 7th century AD. The legend describes a place of thick fog, dark skies, and a sun that no one there ever sees.
A description that would suspiciously well fit the Antarctic continent. However, there is hardly any evidence for this, which is why this journey remains a legend to this day. The existence of Antarctica was officially confirmed only, and now hold on tight, in the year 1820.
The German explorer Fabian von Bellingshausen, sailing under the Russian flag, discovered a vast ice-covered coastline from his ship. British and American expeditions followed shortly thereafter, and the age of Antarctic exploration began. The fact that humanity has known about the existence of Antarctica for barely 200 years never ceases to amaze me. We've known about Uranus since 1781, longer than an entire continent on our own planet. On January 7, 1985, Chilean scientist Daniel Torres Navarro was collecting what was essentially just washed up trash on Yamana Beach, a remote stretch of coastline on Livingston Island, which is part of Antarctica. At 4:35 p.m., he stumbled upon something completely different instead. Part of a human skull, discolored greenish by microalgae, was peeking out. In his own notes, he describes the moment as follows. Only the parieto-occipital portion was visible, while the forehead, nose, upper jaw, and crown areas were buried. During the recovery, however, we managed to secure 2 fragments of the upper jaw with well-preserved teeth. In the days and years that followed, additional bone fragments emerged, including a femur. But what makes this discovery so baffling is not only the location, but also the age of the bones. The remains were dated to around 1819, shortly before Antarctica was even discovered.
How is that possible? Could all those YouTube videos about a mysterious ancient civilization in Antarctica actually be right? We can rule that out right away, because despite all the mysteries surrounding the icy continent, scientists have now been able to map the terrain beneath the ice very thoroughly. An entire lost civilization couldn't remain hidden there. But now back to the enigmatic, mysterious remains.
Initial examinations suggested that the remains belonged to a young woman, likely of South American origin, presumably from present-day Chile, with mixed indigenous and European ancestry. There are hardly any photos of the discovery, and there's a good reason for that. Yamana Beach is located within a specially protected area under the Antarctic Treaty. Access is strictly regulated, and the documentation of human remains is also subject to strict ethical rules to preserve the dignity of the deceased. 8 years later, in January 1993, Torres Navarro returned to the site to observe seals and literally stumbled upon another large bone just a few steps away from the original discovery site.
Once again, a femur whose measurements matched the first one surprisingly well. Everything suggests that over the years, the remains had been scattered further and further across the beach by wind and erosion. However, a large-scale excavation by the University of Chile, a 3 by 3 meter trench carefully sifted down to a depth of 80 centimeters, did not uncover any additional bones. Apparently, Antarctica had kept its secrets well hidden. Yes, today the restored skull is part of the scientific collection at the Instituto Antártico Chileno.
And although researchers planned early on to use DNA analysis to determine whether the skull and femurs truly belong to the same person, no results have been published to date. This is all the more frustrating because the technology for such analyses has long been available. The problem likely lies with the bones themselves. Saltwater breaks down genetic material extremely quickly, and the remains were exposed to waves, tides, and coastal erosion for decades.
But who was this woman, really? And how did she end up on this godforsaken beach of all places before anyone else had officially set foot in Antarctica? Or does this mean that our official historical record regarding Antarctica might actually be wrong? Torres Navarro himself has a theory about this, which he formulated as follows in his publication.
I would like to propose the hypothesis that the woman from unknown lands may have been a member of a group of 19th century seal hunters who left her behind at this location. Seal hunters were active off the coast of Tierra del Fuego at that time. Driven by the demand for seal fur and blubber, crews ventured farther and farther into unknown hostile waters. It is therefore entirely conceivable that the young woman was on board as a worker, a stowaway, or even an indigenous companion to such a crew and was either left behind because she was ill or died. A second theory posits that she died aboard a ship and, as was customary at the time, was buried at sea. Currents and storms may have subsequently washed her body ashore, where seabirds scattered her remains further along the beach. Whatever the tragic circumstances that brought the woman, or her body, to Antarctica, she was, as far as we know, the first person ever to reach the icy continent. Torres Navarro himself sums up the situation quite matter-of-factly. Whatever the sequence of events may have been, to this day only the remains mentioned here have been found.
No name, no ship's log, no personal belongings that would reveal to us who the woman really was. Only a few weathered bones that pose a question to us, one that may never be answered, but which certainly has explosive potential for our understanding of history. Because were there perhaps even more unknown journeys to Antarctica before it was officially discovered? Did indigenous groups from Tierra del Fuego venture into these icy waters even earlier, perhaps while hunting or in exile? Are the true discoverers of the frozen continent actually indigenous peoples from South America? At the very least, it seems possible. And by the way, I already know that many of you will bring up the Piri Reis map in the comments.
This map, created by an Ottoman admiral as early as 1513, has led some people to claim that the mysterious strip of land at the bottom of the map depicts Antarctica, allegedly even without its kilometer-thick ice sheet, and must therefore be based on ancient knowledge from a lost civilization. However, there is no convincing evidence to support this.
The supposed Antarctica here is very likely just a heavily distorted continuation of the South American coastline or the hypothetical southern continent Terra Australis, which was depicted on many maps at the time. Old nautical charts were compiled from numerous templates of varying accuracy, which often resulted in coastlines being twisted, compressed, or even drawn in the wrong place.
Furthermore, the claim that the coastline matches exactly with the subsoil of ice-covered Antarctica does not hold up to modern comparisons. The Piri Reis map is definitely a fascinating testament to early cartography, but it is very likely not proof that humans had surveyed Antarctica long before its official discovery. Perhaps, after all this information about human remains, here's some encouraging recent news from Antarctica that also fits well with the topic. Just a few days ago, it was revealed that the first dinosaur bone ever found in Antarctica had been lying unnoticed in a drawer for decades. The fossil had been discovered as early as 1985 on James Ross Island, not far from Livingston Island, but at the time it was presumably mistaken for the vertebra of a marine reptile and subsequently stored in the archives of the British Antarctic Survey. Only now, 4 decades later, have paleontologists recognized that it is a tail vertebra from a titanosaur.
So, of all things, from the group of dinosaurs that included the largest land animals of all time, the animal lived around 82 million years ago when Antarctica was still covered by lush forests and was probably about 7 meters long. So as it turns out, real sensations are hidden not only in the ice, but also in old museum drawers.
This might not look like much, but this fossil is precious. It's the first dinosaur bone ever found in Antarctica, and it belongs to one of these, a titanosaur, the largest creature ever to walk the Earth. But it's taken 40 years to solve this mystery.
Mark Evans spotted this unassuming looking fossil.
It was collected during an expedition to Antarctica in 1985, but had spent years hidden away. Its discovery was recorded in a field notebook. But that was as far as the identification went, until 4 decades later, Dr. Evans realised it was a dinosaur bone. In fact, the first dinosaur bone ever found in Antarctica. It belongs to one of these, a titanosaur, the largest dinosaur ever to roam the Earth. This full-scale cast on loan from the Natural History Museum is on display at Peterborough Cathedral.
Yes, I will keep you updated on any further findings about Antarctica. So please make sure to subscribe to the channel now so you don't miss anything. And don't forget to give a thumbs up so we can hit 5,000 likes. But this mysterious woman from the end of the world is by far not the only puzzle currently causing headaches.
Several mysterious metal spheres were discovered in Australia, and now we know they came from space. What's the real story behind these cosmic intruders? You'll find out in the video shown in the top right corner. Be sure to check it out for the original footage of the spheres. Very, very exciting. As always, in the bottom right corner, you'll find another topic related to science and space. Otherwise, I'd say see you in the next video. Take care, everyone.